When you talk about turning this season around, you're talking about duplicating the level of success that they enjoyed last year, Skip Bayless, which I don't think they will happen. That would be a 54-win season. That would be a trip to the semifinals of the Eastern Conference. And I think that the New York Knicks right now are in absolute chaos. I feel bad for Coach Mike Woodson because essentially it's not his fault. Skip Bayless, it's just a disastrous situation right now that has very, very little to do with him. You have a situation where he is a guy who is a coach. You've got a guy like J.R. Smith who has not been playing well at all and whose off-court activity has come into question reportedly on numerous occasions because of the nightlife. You got a guy like Carmelo Anthony who's a scorer and a star, but not a superstar, not necessarily a leader. You've got a guy like Tyson Chandler who is a leader, but he's out and hobbled. You've got Andrea Bugnani who actually has played well but was booed on his second offensive play in a New York Knicks uniform. And then you have an organization that I dare say everybody has brought into question whether or not they're running their own organization or whether it's the Creative Artists Agency known as CAA that's doing it for them. I don't know the answer to these questions. I know that Steve Mills came in as president and GM recently by Dolan. I think I've got a lot of confidence in him, but he just took over. He wasn't a part of this mess. But you've got Allen Houston, who's represented by CAA. He's your assistant GM. You've got Mike Woodson. He's represented by CAA. He's your head coach. You've got Carmelo Anthony, J.R. Smith, Andrea Bugnani, and a few others represented by CAA as players. I mean, if you connect the dots and just look at things right now, so many things come into question. And so for me, Skip, to answer the question directly, I'm going to make a proposal here on national television, same proposal that I made on ESPN New York 98.7 FM radio yesterday. And here's the deal. I believe that the New York Knicks should trade Carmelo Anthony before the trading deadline. He has been on record. The only reason I say that, because you know I love me some Melo. The only reason I say that is because Carmelo Anthony was on the record before the season even began saying he's looking forward to free agency. You just don't do that, particularly with the team that can afford to pay you $30 million more than anybody else, unless you don't want to be there. And to me, the New York Knicks can ill afford, with their talent base being as minuscule as it is, they can ill afford to lose him for nothing. Skip Bayless, they should trade Carmelo Anthony before the NBA's trading deadline. We both know that he wants to play, would love to play with Chris Paul. Chris Paul wouldn't mind playing with him either. I'm not sure what the Clippers are willing to give up, but I got to tell you, I'd entertain a Carmelo Anthony for Blake Griffin swap. I might be willing to do that. The New York Knicks, according to my sources, Skip, had an opportunity because Portland, LaMarcus Aldridge, wasn't too interested in staying at one time, and they entertained moving him, okay? And Glenn Grunwald wanted to move, wanted to wait for LaMarcus Aldridge, and the brass at the Knicks said no because they wanted Andrea Bugnani there, which is a CAA client. I mean, I don't know what's going on, but I'm telling you this. You cannot lose Carmelo Anthony for nothing. It cannot happen. You got to move him before the February trading deadline, Skip.
I wish I knew what you could get back for him. I got to tell you, I do not love your proposal of Blake Griffin. I know you're just pie in the sky. I mean, you're just being hypothetical, but I do not love Blake Griffin for Carmelo. That would be big advantage Clippers. Carmelo Anthony still might be the best scorer, best pure scorer in all of basketball. I love me some Melo. I despise the fact that he said on the eve of this season, I'd like to play the field a little bit after the year and shop myself just to have fun, just to see what it's like. It was the wrong message to send. But Stephen A., I think Melo saw the handwriting on the locker room wall going into this year. This team wasn't the same. And again, he didn't know that Tyson Chandler was going to fracture his leg, although remember, Tyson's on the verge of coming back. I think he did know that J.R. Smith, from what he saw in training camp, is just not right. He didn't bounce back from his offseason knee surgery 100%, and he's been saying that. I watch him, Stephen A., I don't see him anymore. So that's a huge problem. They went 54-28 last year. That's pretty good. A lot of teams would like to go 54 and 28. Is Carmelo a difference maker as far as leadership and team carrier goes? No. He needs a Chris Paul. He needed Jason Kidd. He got Jason Kidd at the very end of the line. He had Jason last year. And as you know, he had Chris Copeland last year. You love Chris Copeland. He had Novak, who went in the Bargnani deal up to Toronto. And for what it's worth, they had Ronnie Brewer and Marcus Camby. They were deeper. They were better. And they had 100% of J.R. Smith, when in fact he was eligible to play. But that's a whole other issue. I agree with your nightlife issues with him, but Stephen A., he can make a difference when he is right and he's no longer right. So what happened? It all just fell apart this year, especially with the Tyson Chandler injury. That just did them in. So, as Melo correctly assesses, we are a laughingstock. Go ahead and call us one, because that's what we are. Unless you can tell me you get more than Blake Griffin back, we're going to talk about the Clippers later. Well, I'm not a Blake Griffin guy. I'm sorry, I'm not sold.
Well, first of all, I think a combination of Blake Griffin with Tyson Chandler might work just as well as Blake Griffin with DeAndre Jordan, because Tyson Chandler could actually hit foul shots, even though I'm actually a fan of DeAndre Jordan. I actually like him. I just hate how he shoots free throws. But I got to tell you something right now, Skip. We saw LeBron do it. We saw Dwight Howard do it.
We did.
You cannot let Carmelo go for nothing. And if you're the New York Knicks, you cannot trust that somebody's going to want to stay with you.